When you collapse an uncollapsible wave, you are creating transformation, uncollapsing the waves of a limiting pattern that allows it to release. And when you are collapsing away, you are collapsing something into your reality, something that you have chosen. These actions create the patterns that you want, the beliefs that you want, the ones that you desire, and that you choose on purpose. When you do this successfully, a quantum shift happens. And it feels like life has always been this way to you, this new way. You don't have the same access the way it was before. The struggle, the upset, being overwhelmed, the fear. It's all shifted now. It's been revived, for example. Having done this in my own life, I've tried to go back and experience the shame that I felt in childhood, or the sadness that I felt from particular experiences that I had carried with me for decades. I tried to go back and recall that visceral feeling, that visceral experience. And guess what? I can't find it. My body cannot load it up anymore because I've replaced it in the quantum field. I've removed it. So it's almost as if I don't even have a reference point anymore for this experience of pain or sadness. Not having that reference point anymore is possible in the quantum field. This is what I do when I'm healing people through my techniques with hypnotizing them. I'm helping them to replace those feelings, heal their inner child. That's what that means. So how can this work? Because in the quantum field, there is no time. It's all in the now. The past, the future, everything. It's all right now. And so when that quantum shift happens, you don't realize that it's happened because the new experience is now just there. It's as if it's always been there, like deja vu. And there's almost no evidence that it was ever different, except for the memory that is still intact. There is a memory in your data bank that says you were once affected negatively by specific situations. But to go into the quantum field and collapse those waves and create a new waveform, you have healed and removed the emotional attachment to those particular memories. And so therefore leaving you no longer haunted or afflicted by things that have happened in your past. The memory is still there, but not the emotional traumas. Because the new experience is now, and it's just there as if it's always been there. You can also collapse waves in the quantum field to re-imprint an unwanted experience with a new version of that experience, seeing it through a new perspective. Instead of well, it's like a way of revising it, I guess, is how I want to say that. That you don't want to be challenged by anymore. You know, things that were afflicting you and making you suffer and triggering you, if you will, to result back to that feeling less than, or feeling not able to control a situation or understand a situation. So rather than to look at those situations any further and be challenged by them anymore, or feel dread when you're looking at your credit card statements even, or paying your bills and feeling overwhelmed. The stress that people feel from running a business. Procrastination with decisions that you really need to make, or feeling frozen and unable to have the necessary conversations. Using the quantum field waves to revise unwanted experiences, such as this, are also used by, also done by collapsing and uncollapsing these waves of reality within the quantum field. It actually changes the reality that we experience from the previous collapsed wave, which was running the challenging behavior pattern that we no longer want. So if you uncollapse the wave that is running the old stuck program, the old stuck belief, then that energy wave is allowed to complete the new collapse, the new wave of the benefits and the beliefs and the things that will produce happier outcomes for you. The things that you would prefer to have instead, so that that energetic wave can run what you are choosing the experience to actually be. The experience that you actually want for who you are today and what your desires are. When collapsing waves in the quantum field, there's also this bridge that's created in the physical brain amongst your neurons at the Newtonian level. And it's called a bridge neural pathway in human beings. We experience this bridge neural pathway as a reflex. Animals, interestingly enough, experience this as instinct. I don't know why I can't talk right. As an instinct. And so what I'm trying to say here is that naturally, as children, we would realize it as an instinct as well. But certain belief patterns change that in us, whereas the animals are able to remain the same. So for the animal, the experience is an instinct, this bridge neural pathway. It's a neural pathway that runs between at least two different neurons, and it takes zero energy to do. So if you remember some of your high school biology, there's one nerve cell, there's one electron, and it has to jump from the one neuron synapses to another. It has to jump that gap between these two neurons. And that jump takes some energy to go from point A to point B. If this is what you're trying to do, this something new, then it's going to take that effort, that energy, because you're trying to establish a new permanent connection, similar to the habit or the instinct of the animal. So every time a current comes down the neuron synapses and makes a jump, it leaves this little chemical marker. It's like an ant leaving a trail for the other ants, right? The pheromone sense to follow them after a certain point. There's like enough chemical markers that the pathway is bridged. And it's similar to walking a grass field after a period of time where there's no longer any grass there and you just have a little beaten down path. It becomes your natural pathway, linking one side of the field to the other. So at this point with neurons, the pathway is called a bridge because by then it takes no energy to cross the bridge. It becomes habitual. It becomes instinct, second nature. Similar to when you're driving and when you're almost at your destination, but you don't remember driving there. You're like, how did I get here all of a sudden? I don't even remember there being any real effort. It's like I was on autopilot. So, because you were on autopilot. When this happens, there's been many, many neural networks that have created bridges to create this ease that now happens for you automatically. Interestingly enough, humans have the fewest bridge neural pathways of any species. And we're actually designed to create the most. Our original pathways are supposed to be in multiples compared to other species on this planet. In response to the environment that we come in contact with, which makes us as humans incredibly adaptable, and that's very good news for us. But the downside is that all this happens in the first 3 to 6 years of our life. It would be very useful if, say, when we turn 18 and we move out of our parents' house, we get the chance to revise those bridges of our own pathways. Then we could get a chance to update them. Yet the brain doesn't seem to be designed to update itself. Unlike your phone does or your computer, your brain seems to be not able to update. But that's because of other programming that was layered on top of you. We are not naturally designed to just stay in this limited thinking. We were continually programmed, you see. Our brain neural pathways, our bridges, were programmed to do this. Repetition makes perfect, right? Consciousness is designed to expand and expand and expand your brain. And by the time you're 6, your brain, by pre-design, already knows how to stabilize this environment that you're in so that you know the rules of the game called life. Most of the big decisions about how the world works, who you are, what you deserve in it, what your place is in it, all of these foundations are laid by the age of 6. And our brains are now layered with new programming that prevents the design from spontaneously updating in today's time when we actually need it the most. our scientists have a lot to catch up with in actually understanding more about how the brain works, so that we can repair this. Because it seems that people tend to listen to you better if you have a diploma on your wall or a PhD at the end of your name, regardless of how much tried and true evidence you could provide. This change is happening at the neurological level, and how to update it in our internal system is through the quantum field. You have to be able to access the parts of the brain that we're developing when the original patterns got laid down. And this is one of the reasons why traditional therapies only produce limited results for people. Because mostly people are talking about their experiences of their childhood, but they're talking about it from their adult brain, from their adult perspective. And I'm not even talking about inner child work here necessarily. I'm talking about actually accessing parts of your brain that were developing at that young age. This is also why you have insights and experience shifts in your adult part of your brain. Things that have not changed our limiting beliefs start out as associations, a pure association. And they start in the womb. You can be hanging out in the womb and there's no cognition, there's just experience. No cognition or thought. Simply experiences of your environment. So if somebody's floating around in their amniotic bath, and either one or even both of the parents are feeling stress, anxieties, fear, lack, and that can be from many things: hunger, circumstances of war, circumstances of abuses, different things, all sorts of things. It doesn't even really have to be quote unquote horrific experiences that the parent or parents are experiencing while you're in the womb. But you're picking up on those things. They're being imprinted on you from the moment you existed. So if your parent is feeling stressed, there's no thought about it in the womb of the child that feels it. They just know the experience. And now they have an association of stress. And about all they're doing, it's just floating in there. Feeling the existence of stress simultaneously. So it starts to become an association that life must be stressful, or that life must be hard or dangerous, or that it's too much, or that I am too much. These become linked as associations in the brain as the neurons are forming. So these associations start before there's any type of cognition. And if you don't die from it, then those associations become wired in as well. And they start to become how you view yourself, your worthiness, your world, how you must perform or struggle to be in life. And you don't even think about it. You don't have to think about it. It becomes part of your normal life. Think about children who are raised in bad areas where there's lots of gangs or war versus children who are raised in, say, a more well-to-do neighborhood. It's wired in them from day one. How you view yourself, how you view the world, your worthiness, your place in it. You don't have to think about it because it's an original pathway. An original pathway that was laid down so long ago that it takes virtually no effort to cross that narrow bridge or pathway. So if you had the chance to go back and revise some of these life's hard experiences or feelings, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I'm too much, whatever. If you had a chance to go back and revise it, that would be a gift at any age. There's not a fetus or a newborn that can cognitively decipher their parents' limitations of love and self-expression or their stress and happiness from themselves. It's a visceral experience that gets associated into that fetus's identity. For example, if you've ever been to a restaurant and you got food poisoning just that one time, then every time you think about that restaurant or that type of food, what happens? Because of that visceral experience, you relive that food poisoning hell that you experienced, which allows those kinds of tracks to get grooved in those beliefs, those associations, and turn them into a pattern. The good news is they're all revisable. This is the technology that we have today because we now understand quantum physics and how to revise them. The only options we had were you either prayed for an epiphany or, you could die and come back with a new set of neuron wiring and a new body. But that takes time. And you have to go through a lot of junior high and puberty all over again. Nobody wants that. As an adult, you can start choosing what you want to experience and revise those old, stuck, outdated neural pathways. You can revise all of the oldest associations that are in the way of you experiencing what you want in this really important reality that's called the now. Because these affect your health. It affects your relationships. It affects your level of happiness, your level of well-being, your money, your security. And money is mostly about security for most people. It can also be about freedom. Now, you don't need money to be free, but in this society that we live in, it does help that you also need the money to get the things that you really need and the things that you want. There's a million ways that they can come to you. And sometimes it's easy for you to actually become the creator that you came here to be. That is your birthright. And it can literally be so easy to do by using the quantum field, collapsing and uncollapsing wave. If you want to learn more, contact me and let's choose a time so that we can begin to connect and chat about this further. And until then, be well and be blessed in God's grace and love and light. Before you go, I want to show you something that is physical, real-time evidence that what I say we can do is true. So here you're looking at some photographs of my back from yesterday. I'll start by explaining that the top portion of my back is pretty much numb. I don't feel a lot of feeling in that area. And it was tingly and itchy feeling, and I reached back there and scratched a couple of areas with my fingernails, and you can clearly see that I tore those areas pretty bad just from scratching them. Now, first, let me explain also that the reason I have not a lot of feeling in the top portion of my back is because I have broken my neck in the past. Not once, but actually twice, my neck has been broken. And there are x-rays to prove that. And neither time did I go to a hospital or a doctor. I did the healing myself at home. And no, I'm not recommending that to just anyone, because if you don't know how to do that yourself, then you are putting yourself in danger, most certainly. But nevertheless, because of the broken neck in 2 places, I have this nerve damage in the top portion of my back. And so that's why I didn't notice that I tore my skin as deeply as I did. And you can see by these pictures that I did a pretty good job. Well, so actually this didn't happen yesterday. Those pictures were taken yesterday. This happened a few days prior. And so yesterday I had my daughter to help me by taking some photographs of it for me with my cell phone so that I could see what I'm dealing with. And then I also had her help me to put some salve on a Band-Aid and cover up each of the 2 places, as you can see in the next photo slides. So she did that, and we left them on for a full 24 hours. They weren't removed today until it had been a full 24 hours that the bandages and the salve had been on them. And I had her to once again remove the bandages and take photographs, which you are now looking at in the slides. And this is what it looked like after 24 hours. Not really a whole lot of improvement. And to me, this did not look really good at all. As a matter of fact, it reminded me of some other skin conditions that I've seen in the past on people, and I didn't like what I was looking at. So I started to focus my energy, my healing, my third eye, and focused on the pictures, stared at the wounds, and sent healing to these 2 spots and saw them as completely closed up and renewed and refreshed and looking good again. And I let it go. I put the photographs away. I went on with my day. 6 hours later, I was putting lotion on and decided to put some on my back. And as I was putting the lotion on my back, I noticed that I wasn't feeling these 2 spots with my hand. So again, I asked my daughter to come and look and take some photographs so that I could see what I was dealing with. And as you can see in the new pictures, this is 6 hours after removing those Band-Aids and taking those second set of slides. After I decided to not just let my salve and Band-Aid do the work for me, I did the work myself. This is physical evidence of how something so drastic can change within or on the outside of you if you focus your thought energy in the proper ways. So again, I see my own ridiculous mistake that I made by scratching too hard and creating those gnarly sores to being a blessing in giving me yet another physical example to show to you that we really can change things, and we really can help one another to be healed and whole and happy. So I'll leave you with that. And thank you for watching.